So Naomi, can you introduce this drink to our listeners?
I can't introduce it because I don't know what it is.
That's
I can't
fair
see the
enough.
label.
So I was at the store the other day with a very special someone, and I'm right now parceling out shots of this beverage.
This isn't a shot. This is like 3 full ounces.
This is what you consider a shot glass. Your friends go hard.
Yeah, for tequila.
We are drinking today the seasonal flavor Mountain Dew Gingerbread Snapped.
Oh,
I don't know. Is there something we can toast before we savor this?
Cheers.
To date these guys.
Hate these guys.
That's not unpleasant.
It's not as bad as I
That's
thought it was
like
going to be.
ginger ale.
That is
Yeah.
like ginger. I don't know what makes
With
it
a little
Mountain
hint
Dew.
of bread.
Yeah. There is that hint of like carbohydrate. I am shocked.
I hate that substantially less than I thought I would.
I thought it was
Dang.
going to be like so overly sweet. I mean, it does have 72 grams of sugar in one container.
Yeah, as for our listeners, Mountain Dew Gingerbread Snapped, we don't hate it. I would prefer a ginger beer or even a ginger ale.
Yeah,
but
it does taste like a ginger beer.
it's
Yeah.
pretty tasty.
Mhm.
Very holiday-y.
So do we even need our backup drink, or should we pop that open anyways?
I think we should pop it open. It's right in
Fair
front of us.
enough. Okay. So we also have a backup drink, which is Trader Joe's Sparkling Pomegranate Punch beverage.
Cheers.
The first 5 minutes of this episode is just going to be cans opening. And I hate that a lot more than what we just
Yeah.
consumed. This
Oh.
is
It
weak.
says pomegranate punch, so I'm guessing they just like dropped a pomegranate
Ah,
seed in there.
Yeah, this is pomegranate
that
stuck its
tastes
butt
like
in water.
plastic.
It's not pleasant. No.
It's like pomegranate flavored plastic.
This
Yeah.
isn't a punch. It's like a love tap. You know, like when you're like at the boxing gym and like the instructor's trying to show you proper form and just grazes your face as
Yeah.
he's doing mock punches. That's what this is. This is a pomegranate love tap beverage.
This is the same man that described having sex as smushing butts yesterday.
I think I said smushing booty. It's completely different. Naomi, what are we doing here? What is this?
Welcome back to Why Will No One Date These Guys with Naomi Guy, and
Okay.
there we go.
It used to be a podcast about love, sex, and relationships for the youngest generations, and then it kind of got away from us. Also, the title is really no longer accurate.
Yeah,
It really was
let's introduce
accurate.
our special guest. You've kind of heard her in the side, drinking her drinks, commentating.
Yeah, I don't have an elaborate intro because I feel you're probably the best person to talk about yourself.
Okay.
This is no one, and she is dating one of the guys.
Yeah, I'm the no one who's dating. My name is Lauren Pauls, and I'm Joel's girlfriend.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I wanted her to introduce
official.
herself as my girlfriend.
No, that's a lovely description. You have other attributes, though.
I do have other attributes. I'm not just Joel's girlfriend, but for the relevant portion of this podcast, I am indeed. That's why I'm here.
Did you want to talk about any of your other amazing skills, knowledge base, background?
What do you want to know?
Yeah, ask
Is
some
it okay
questions.
if I provide some of this?
Yeah,
for the
that's
listeners?
fine.
Okay, I don't know if you're trying to keep like work life separate and don't want
No,
this
it's
attached
totally
to your
fine.
name. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is Lauren. We have been seeing each other for about 3 months. She is very nice. I appreciate her presence. She is currently in law school. She is finishing up her second to last semester before she goes into the high-paced world of corporate law, where she is going to defend big corporations like Enron from those little assholes who keep pestering them with niggling, legal complaints.
He's lying. I'm going to be a public defender.
I'm very happy that she's going into public defense. You used to be a public school teacher in Colorado.
I did, yeah. I used to teach math in Colorado.
Mm-hmm. And you used to do speech and debate professionally in college, right? And were quite successful at it.
I
both
was, yeah.
coaching and competing.
I was, indeed. Yep, it was a good time.
So she's very cool, and I'm glad to have her in my life. And
Sorry.
Naomi's been puking the entire time. We do have a screen set up and a little bucket that she could puke behind. But yeah, I did not twist her arm to come on. She's a free and independent woman, and I want to talk a little bit about her after we do some guy family updates. So Naomi, has anything gone on in your life since the last time we did one of
When
these
was the
update
last time we
episodes?
recorded? It's been like a good month.
It has been about a month, maybe as much as 5 weeks.
So Joel was away, and I decided to keep the theme going and not record while he was gone.
Oh,
But needed the extra. I was tempted. Basically, what happened in the last couple weeks? Joel left. My other brother arrived, surprised me for my birthday. Very surprised. It basically went down. I was in my room. My mom said, I need to drop off something to you because she was getting back from San Francisco. I said, okay. Expecting a croissant because that's sort of become it's kind of become a tradition at this point. I bring her a croissant when I'm there without her and vice versa. So she just brings my brother, my whole ass brother.
What's this on the ass?
It's a big croissant.
So she did also bring me a croissant. It was very good.
Oh, good.
Quite good. So he decided to show up. I exchanged one brother for the other.
It wasn't a fair trade. It's not an equivalent exchange.
God damn it, Joel. I then celebrated my 21st birthday.
Ooh.
I did a lot of fun things. Started the day with a shot of tequila and a Starbucks run.
Perfect.
With my best friend. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I got my ID flipped because in Arizona you need to do those types of things. What else did I do?
I just want to ask, which Starbucks drink goes best with a shot of tequila?
Water.
That's fair enough. I was thinking it's like those Taco Bell cantinas where they mix in like the tequila or whatever drink
I
you
don't
want.
know, because it's literally all that they do is they put like a shot of whatever you want. Because the only time I had it was like a shot of Bacardi, and then like they just put the drink on top. So you put your straw in, and all you're drinking is Bacardi,
It's
and
gross.
then the rest of it is just.
I think you mean perfect.
I'm not nearly drunk enough to appreciate Taco Bell right now.
And then what else did I do? One of my friends made me a meal and a cheesecake, which I appreciated.
Aw.
What else did I do? I got very wine drunk, came home, visited with my brother who was at work at my kitchen table, and then we went on a family outing to the bar.
Excellent.
Which they did not ID me at, which was interesting. But yeah, it was a terrible margarita, but I did it for RJ. So I went to the Vine for RJ for my birthday.
This, for our eagle-eyed listeners, this is the same RJ who was on many, many moons ago. One of his favorite spots in Tempe, Arizona is the Vine, which can be affectionately described as a dive bar and accurately described as a dive bar.
It's literally the last ungentrified, like,
that is a good description. It is not a chain.
in Tempe.
It is living its best life, and it's kind of sad the existence that it lives.
Everyone in there seemed very disgusted with their life. Because it was a Wednesday night and it was quite full.
It's a vibe. It's cheap drinks. That's about it. But they objectively have the worst nachos in Tempe.
Yeah, do not go there for the food. My brother ordered, a Caesar salad, and it came with garlic bread, and he turned it over and it was moldy. Yeah. So, yeah, they probably got all of their food from like Costco or something, and then they just like let it sit there for a while.
Yikes.
So that's how I spent my 21st birthday. And then later that weekend, we went to a chain called Fogo de Chao, which is like a Brazilian steakhouse. I ate my weight in meat and cheesy bread, and I'm glad that Joel wasn't there because Joel is a vegetarian, and he would have not been able to eat his favorite dish, which is the grilled pineapple. So
Grilled pineapple is still vegetarian, Naomi.
no, what I'm saying is you weren't going to eat it because it wasn't provided. It wasn't.
They didn't provide it?
They didn't provide it.
That's like the one job of Brazilian steakhouse.
But what was the best part of this whole experience was that they were walking around with little shrimp cocktails. So they just handed out little shrimp cocktails with your meal. It's so great. My mom and I had made a pact a couple weeks before that I was going to get her drunk. And my mom's version of drunk is one shot of anything. So I had completely forgotten about this, was totally ready to just go about the meat eating portion of our meal. And then she stops the waiter and says, please, 2 shots of tequila. And so I got a shot of 1942 Don Julio. And it was, guess how much, Joel?
I know the answer. Lauren,
guess how much my shot of tequila was? It was about this size. I'm going to say it was a pretty decent shot. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to guess $12.
For a shot of 1942 Don Julio.
No.
One more guess.
I'll double it. $24.
$33 for a singular shot.
hey Lauren, what subject did you teach when you were teaching public school?
Math?
Oh no, okay, never mind.
So that was my birthday celebration with my family, and then the festivities continued while Joel was away. The week after, I decided to throw a rager. I invited 45 people total. 15 showed up, which was actually a good response rate because we had no room for anybody else. Everybody was either sick, out of town, or with their parents because it was family weekend, which is totally understandable. So I threw a party, danced on the counter, danced on the table, got really drunk, blacked out about 4 times, and every time I came to, I took another shot. So to 21.
To 21.
Did you do anything differently?
No, actually. I actually got disposable cameras for my party, so I'm waiting on those pictures to come back. But
that's a fun idea.
Other than that, it was like a pretty well photographed party.
I don't know if you want to bring this up, but was there anything weird about the processing of the photos?
Okay, so I called Walgreens because I put in I brought my disposable cameras to Walgreens, and the guy who took them said 3 to 5 days, and that was 7 days ago. So I called Walgreens, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, can you tell me, like, what's going on? Because he didn't seem, like, experienced in the photography section, and I was just like, if he lost it, like, I just want to know, you know what I mean? So I call Walgreens, and it takes me like a good 5 minutes to actually get on the phone with somebody because they kept sending me to different departments. Like I had to press a button or like a certain number in order to get the photography or the photo department.
And there's so many departments at a Walgreens.
No, okay, so nobody at the photo department picked up, and then nobody at the pharmacy picked up, and they just kept sending me to different departments because nobody was picking up. And so I finally get on the phone with someone, and they're like, oh yeah, let me send you back to the photo department. I was like, no, just take my call. So I finally get on the phone with the photo department, and it sounds like this woman is having sex. Like, she's like breathing in such a way that would make me think that she was like having sex while on the phone with me. It's a very weird experience. She was like, okay, yeah. And I was like,
Gross.
But anyways, I'm going to be picking up my disposables tomorrow, so that's cool.
Maybe shine a black light on them. Jeez. So I do have 2 questions for Naomi.
Yeah.
The first thing is, do you feel any different now that you're 21?
I like the fact that I can go out and like just get a drink with someone. Like, I don't have to go out and get a meal with someone because usually like when you want to go out and see your friends, you're like, okay, let's meet at this designated location and spend like $20 on dinner. Now I can go out and spend like a couple of dollars, get a decent drink, have a good time, go home.
Would you say that improves your dating life?
I have not been on a date since I turned 21.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, yes, but I'm also very scared that I might get roofied, so I have not yet done that.
Drinking on first dates is...
Fair enough.
Nah.
Yeah, very scary.
Fair enough.
For our audience, they just lovingly looked at each other, and I didn't like it.
My Apple Watch vibrated, and he felt it.
In her arm. Yeah, it was a strange experience. One last question, Naomi. You're 21 now. Are there any additional frontiers that you're looking forward to in the near future?
Frontiers.
Certain ages, getting your degree.
Well, okay. Yeah, let's talk about that. So I got a call from my advisor. I think this was after you left. And she was like, you're behind. And I was like, that's not possible. And she was like, are you sure? And basically she was just telling me that she had not looked at my account and that I was off track on my graduation status. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And it was literally just because I hadn't taken the lab classes that I was supposed to take in the semester that I was supposed to take them. Because lab classes take up like half of my semester, basically, like half the time. And so I don't want to like take them with my regular course load. So what I like to do is I like to take them like over summer breaks and stuff because then I like can fully focus on them. So I got a call from her and she told me basically that she hadn't looked at my account and that I was off track. And I said, that's not possible. And I'm recapping this entire story. I don't know why. And so I told her what my plan was. And I was like, hey, so I'm thinking about picking up a minor. No, I'm not into children. I'm thinking about picking up. That was the joke that you used when I told you that I wanted to pick up a minor.
That doesn't seem like me at all.
And I'm going to be picking up a minor in women and gender studies because I was supposed to graduate a semester and a half ahead, but I want to graduate in 4 years because I feel like my college experience was cut short due to COVID. So I want to experience all the things. So I'm picking up a minor. I have my hands in a few things, thinking about doing a research internship. Why'd you look weird? Why would you make a weird face at that?
Keep going.
I'm thinking about picking up a research internship with one of my professors where he's doing an HIV, AIDS, and TB research project out of South Africa. So I'd be here doing data analysis and things of that sort, which I think would be a cool experience. So that's my life updates. Joel, hit it. What's your life update?
Let me think.
Where have we been for the last 4 weeks?
So the big thing is I was out of Arizona traveling for 3 weeks. We hinted at this, but I didn't want to say that on any of our podcast episodes in advance because then it just opens up our home to be burglared.
There was some weird shit that happened while you were gone.
You haven't mentioned any of this.
Okay,
I know bees took over my compost bin, and that's about it.
That's true.
But yes, so I was going to say out of the country for 3 weeks, but that is inaccurate. I was out of the state for 3 weeks on what was supposed to be a relaxing European trip that I've been planning with friends for a while. Turns out if you buy tickets for things during COVID, risking the fact that COVID restrictions might prevent you from getting places, you can get to Europe very cheaply. So yes, we had purchased tickets about a year and a half ago, hoping that COVID restrictions had been lifted by now, and they mostly have, so we did luck out in that regard. But I get to Seattle the first day of our trip. We were supposed to fly from Seattle to Frankfurt and then spend a couple of days in Germany. And they tell me at the front desk that my passport is not valid. And they ask me if I have a German passport. And I say, no, I do not have a German passport. And they say, well, we can't let you in. And I say, why is that? And they said, because it expires soon. And I go, soon is not the same as expired. And they go, if you're entering the Schengen area of Europe, you need to have at least 3 months before expiration on your passport.
What's the Schengen area?
It's 28 countries in the EU and I think the UK as well. But yes, for all of our listeners...
Isn't it 6 months validity?
Well, wait, we'll get to that. For all of our listeners, if you plan to do any international travel, check your passport. To be clear, I had thought to myself, hey, maybe I should renew my passport just to avoid the issues. And this was back in June or July. And then I looked up online and they're like, you have to mail your physical passport to a passport agency, and it can take 10 to 16 weeks for them to get the paperwork back to you, as well as the new passport. And I'm like, that's cutting it pretty close. Also, the mail service has been having all sorts of issues.
And due to COVID, the passport offices have been really, really backed up.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I decided not to do it. I decided, okay, my passport's not expired, shouldn't be a problem. I'll just renew it when I get back. And to prove that I was thinking this, there are printed passport photos sitting on my desk that I got at a Walgreens back in July that I was planning to use with my new passport.
Oh, you mean at the same Walgreens where the woman was having sex on the phone?
Yes, there's a lot that goes on at this Walgreens. So anyways, dear listeners, if you're traveling internationally to Europe, make sure you have 3 months. If you're traveling internationally to places like Brazil or I think certain islands in the Philippines, it can be as much as 6 months. So your passport is not good for 10 years. It's good for 9 3/4 or 9.5, depending on where you're going. Renew your passport is what I'm getting at. So anyways, my friends departed on their lovely European vacation, and I was left in Seattle. The plan that I rapidly cobbled together was to go to a Seattle passport agency office. There are 22 around the country. These offices allow you to get a passport the same day if you can provide proof that you're in immediate need of travel assistance. So I had to wait until Monday morning. Thankfully, RJ used to live in Seattle and had a friend who graciously put me up on his couch. Really good dude. He's getting a holiday card.
Really good good.
Yes, really good Gouda. He fed me the finest cheeses from Seattle. But yeah, I'm waiting till Monday. Monday morning, I give them a call as soon as the office opens, and they go, oh, I'm sorry, the system to schedule appointments is down. And I'm like, what? And they say, yeah, the whole system for the entire country scheduling is down. I'm like, okay, what should I do? And they said, call back in 2 hours. So I call back in 45 minutes, still down. Call back 45 minutes later, still down. Call back 45 minutes after that, it's up. There are no appointments available in Seattle. So I go, where are there appointments available? And they go, Buffalo, New York has a lot open. And I said, let me check on that. I'll call back in 10 minutes. I quickly find a flight from Seattle to Buffalo. I probably have to skip Germany, but I could go Buffalo to Newark, Newark to Athens. That gets me there. I'm back on track of my European vacation. I go, okay, let's do that, and call them again. They say, sorry, in the 10 minutes it's taken for you to find that flight, the appointment's been filled.
Are you kidding me?
I thought I told you this.
No!
So then I'm like, okay, what else is available? And they said Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm like, that seems a little out of the way. Anything up northeast? And they go Vermont. And I don't think there's that many flights to and from Vermont.
It's expensive to fly to Burlington.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And so I'm thinking Georgia, a lot more populous, a lot more flights in and out. Let's do that. It's been 5 minutes since she brought up this Georgia appointment. We're still on the phone. And she goes, sorry, that appointment's been filled. I go, okay, let's do Vermont. And she said, and it's been like a minute and a half since she looked up this Atlanta thing for the second time. And she goes, sorry, the Vermont one was just filled in front of me.
Oh my God.
I go, where in the United States can I get a new passport this week? And she says, Honolulu, Hawaii. And I said, I'll take it. So 3 hours later, I'm on a flight. I actually called Lauren during this period and was like, hey, here's the update. This is what I'm
Your
up
exact
to.
phrasing was, I have good news and bad news.
And that was true.
And the bad news was significantly worse than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. So I was on a flight 3 hours later. There was a little bit of difficulty getting on the flight, and I was super concerned the entire time because 30 minutes before we left, they're like, make sure you have all your COVID authorization paperwork to enter Hawaii, present it at the front counter. So like my hands are trembling, adrenaline just shooting through me as I'm filling out these forms I didn't know existed on my computer. I get a QR code, I present that to the front counter, and they're like, well, we're not sure if that COVID document is going to be accepted by the authorities. So on my 6.5-hour flight to Hawaii, I'm freaking out the entire time. Like, what if they just turn me around? Thankfully, they did not. They're super reasonable. But yeah, I'm just in Hawaii for 18 hours. Stayed at a hostel. Next morning, went to a passport agency, was in and out in 3 hours, and took a flight from Hawaii to Denver, Denver to Newark, Newark to Athens, and got my trip back on track. That is my tale of woe.
Yeah, I have a few comments about this story. The first is that this entire time that you were having this situation, I felt like I was sitting at the edge of my seat.
Same.
I was like, I was so anxious. I was like checking your location, like, oh my God, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Is he gonna get there? So the day before my birthday, Mom and Dad and I were like texting back and forth, and I was just giving them updates as I could. And I was like, he's still at the passport office, like checking his location. He's still at the passport office. Like, I don't know when he's going to get out. Thankfully, it all worked out. But then I told one of my friends, Trey, who was on the podcast at my party, that this was happening. And he was like, bro, I would not deal with that. I would just go home and take a 3-week nap.
Honestly, yeah, I was getting super stressed. My cortisol levels were at unhealthy extremes. And on the flight to Hawaii, I was like, if they turn me away, this could all be over. I could just go back to Arizona and chillax. But no, they were reasonable.
You would not have chillaxed for 3 weeks. You would have been like itching and like wanting to get back to work.
No, that's not too different from normal. Just constant itching over here. The Joel guy skin.
Itchy boy.
Itchy boy over
Itchy
here.
boy.
So anyways, Europe, the parts that I saw were nice. Unfortunately, I had to skip all of Germany, but I did see Greece, parts of Italy, and Spain. Athens is pretty. If you're planning to go to Athens, it's worth seeing. The food's all excellent. Rome is very nice. Unfortunately, you kind of lose the effect of history when everything's historical. Like every single building was built in the 14th century and repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt. Food's very nice there as well. Venice, me and Lauren are of the opinion that Venice is...
Have you been to Venice?
I have been
it's
to Venice,
worth seeing, but not spending significant amounts of time in. You can probably knock it out in a day. Hit up all the major landmarks, eat some fancy seafood, I don't know.
See the pigeons,
get some glass, and you're on your way. It's very Disney-ified. I had some horrible gelato.
Really?
Yeah, gelato. The food in Venice is... I disagree even about the seafood. The food in Venice is just really expensive and not great. Like they know that they have the tourists on the hook, so they just don't put a ton of effort into making the food decent, and that includes the gelato.
But wait, you can get attacked by seagulls while eating food.
You can get attacked by seagulls while getting food.
So during COVID, for all our listeners, I have a TV show recommendation. It's called Somebody Feed Phil. It's this old Jewish guy who just travels around the world and does food recommendations. Great picture experience, very aesthetically pleasing. And when he was in Venice, his only response to food, no matter what the food is so it's just a very like happy show, and he's like a happy guy. It's like it's a good experience if you need a little light in your day. But when he was in Venice, everything that he like had was just like so good, and I guess that I should just not trust him.
I think you can find good food in Venice. It's just that there's just so many like tourist traps. Every 15 feet, there's a shop selling generic masks that were mass produced in China.
Well,
there's
that's
very
because...
little authenticity. It definitely feels Disney-fied. Like there's like a main path you follow that goes through the entire city. And when you walk off the main path into the back alleys, it doesn't seem like anyone lives there. So many of the homes are boarded up, and you look online and there's, crazy occupancy rates for Venice. The population of the city is like 24,000 people. It's very, very low. You have to scratch your head and wonder, is this a city or is this an amusement park right now? Again, pretty lovely experience, but we spent the next day that we were in the area going to Trento, which is a mountain town up in the Alps, about 3 hours north. Very pretty, very picturesque, amazing food up there, and some really cool historical stuff, as well as a very, very neat science museum. So I would suggest doing that your second day in Venice rather than taking some overpriced gondolas. And then we ended up in Spain for our last part. Spain, I'm kind of indifferent to. The experience was lovely, had some okay tapas, but the food generally is very unseasoned. They don't like using sauces or vinegar or anything to accompany dishes. I had a number of sandwiches that had absolutely no seasoning. I kept seeing people get like trays of fried calamari rings that had no dipping sauce or lemon even to squeeze on them. They're okay with, I guess, no seasoning in their culture. I was a little disappointed. Maybe my mistake was buying kimchi at a corner store, but their kimchi tasted like picante salsa. It was a very weird experience, even though they had imported it from Taiwan. I don't know. Spain was nice. We saw some cool stuff. There was some really interesting history there to Madrid, but I would say it was not my favorite destination, and I probably would not prioritize it if I was going back. But no, the experience was great. The trip was nice. I kind of have some weird thoughts on traveling for extended periods, but I want to save that for our conversation with Lauren. Yeah, I guess that's my major update. Everybody really should try to travel at some point. I realize it is a luxury, but if you save up money for a couple of years like I did, it's far more affordable. And if you take advantage of international pandemics, it's quite accessible to the average man. I should also mention the people I was traveling with were RJ and Giselle, who've been on the podcast. It turns out we're friends both on and off the air.
Do you want to mention your other friend that dropped in?
I'm not going to name drop him unless he's okay with it. I
Okay.
check for that. Yes, there were 4 people total. But do some travel, see the world. It's a great way to demystify other cultures. It's a great way to eat delicious food. It's a great way to get some amazing profile photos for your LinkedIn account. All the important things that us millennials and Zoomers care about.
So, Joel, are you seeing anyone right now?
You know what? No, Naomi. I'm a single man. No, I have been seeing this lovely girl named Lauren. I'm sorry, lovely woman named Lauren.
It doesn't matter. I
okay.
can be both of those things.
So yeah, I know you wanted to discuss how we met in a little more detail.
Can I ask Lauren these questions?
You can ask Lauren these
absolutely.
questions.
Okay.
I've been talking way too much.
So, Lauren,
Venice.
how did you meet my I'm just kidding. How did you meet my brother?
I met your brother through OkCupid
Okay.
online.
Okay.
Yeah.
I told you were supposed to say he was saving orphans from a sinking battleship while you stood by on the shore.
Mm-hmm. He was actually rescuing kittens
Yes,
Okay.
from a sinking battleship.
out of a storm drain.
Can I, tell me if this is too personal. How
No,
long
go
were
for it.
you on OkCupid before you matched with Joel?
A couple of months, I
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Not a terribly extended period of time. I was single for a really long time before
Were
I
you
met
using
Joel.
dating apps?
I was
before
using
that?
dating
Okay.
apps, but on and off. Like
Okay.
I'd use them for a couple weeks and then something terrible would happen and
I get that.
I would quit everything and then I'd get bored and go back on. And that I was stuck in that cycle for a while.
Okay.
But yeah.
And you were using like a variety of dating apps
Mhm.
like Tinder, Hinge,
Bumble, yeah.
Okay. And Joel, can you share how long were you on?
Very similar. I've had, in the most embarrassing way, I've had an OkCupid account since like 2014, 2015.
I don't know a single person my age that uses OkCupid, so that might be the
Well, I'm
reason
not trying to
why.
date people your age,
I'm not
Naomi.
saying that.
I
I'm
was going to
saying
say
that
that's part of the reason why
but
I
I'm
use it.
saying like from my perspective, I don't feel like it's one of like the big ones that people use. Like the big ones that people use is like Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. So I was
What Naomi's saying is we're both the dregs of the dating world.
That's
Mhm.
not what
We're
I
not
was
nearly
saying.
cool and
I was
confident
saying
Yeah.
that there could have been more variety if you used more apps.
No, I was also, I think, on Hinge and what's that weirdly named? It's like Coffee Meets Bagel.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know that one. I was
Yeah.
on that for a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, and Bumble. Yeah, I found OkCupid, I think, works the best for my desires when I'm doing dating. Tinder, Hinge, Coffee Meets Bagel, it's all very like short profiles.
Exactly.
You know so little about a person besides like 5 photos and like some quips they stole from an online forum about sexy profile lines or whatever.
On OkCupid, do you share your first and last name?
No,
You can.
you can. That's
Yeah.
true.
But you don't
Okay,
have to.
because I kind of like that because usually when you're on, personally, I don't like Tinder's like format. It confuses me, but I would like to know their first and last name, look up like crimes and sex offender things of that nature, if they're married or not.
I've had people find me on Tinder even without my last name being on there.
That is so creepy.
Can I tell you the world's creepiest story?
Go
in the
ahead.
world?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So I was on Tinder in my sophomore year of college, I think. And I was in Alaska, actually, that's not relevant to the story, but I was in Alaska in a hotel room on a debate trip. And I matched with this profile called Cow that was just pictures of cows. And I was like,
Oh, that's a winner.
that's a winner. I'm going to swipe right on that. So I swiped right on the cow profile.
Okay.
For context, my Tinder bio for years and years was swipe right for whale facts. And that was it.
Okay.
So I started trading cow and whale facts with this cow profile.
Okay, what kind of like pictures of cow? Were they like udders? Were they like butts? Were they like faces?
They
like,
were faces.
Okay,
Yeah, they were faces.
okay,
it wasn't a disturbing part of a cow.
Got it.
Yeah, but so we traded cow and whale facts and puns for a while. I came up with the pun or the fact, did you know a whale's house is fireproof? Which to this day is the funniest thing I've ever said.
I don't get it.
I just killed Joel.
I mean, you're not old enough to be on these adult, sophisticated dating apps.
I'm so confused.
They live underwater, Naomi.
So it's fireproof.
Ah!
Yeah. So eventually, this cow profile says, did you know I'm not really a cow? And I was like,
This is like the season
yes,
finale.
but don't ruin the magic. And he was like, here's a link to my Facebook. And I was like, peace out. This is weird. But then, this is where it gets creepy. A few years later, I had graduated college and I was starting my teaching career. And I put up on my Facebook a GoFundMe account for my classroom so I could get supplies and decorations and everything.
For our international listeners, we know you're out there. American teachers have to use their own money
To buy pencils.
to buy basic supplies to make sure that kids actually are able to learn and thrive. And this is a normal part of our society. No one ever questions it. We just think teachers need to fight for themselves in the world of education. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, totally rocks. But so this GoFundMe is up for a while. My friends and family are donating, whatever. And then one day at like 3:30 in the morning, I get an email that I've gotten a donation from an anonymous donor. And the description of the donation that they've written is all cow puns. Like, it's very, very clear that this is the cow profile donating to my GoFundMe.
Question.
That was on my Facebook.
A couple of years before, when he gave you the link to your Facebook, did you stalk his Facebook?
I clicked on it. Yeah. I was like, I
Okay.
want to see who this dude is.
I know that on Instagram, if you download another app, like in addition to Instagram, you can see who's seen your profile.
Oh, that's
Oh.
horrifying.
Is there a thing with Facebook?
I don't know.
I'm guessing
Maybe.
that there is because Facebook and Instagram are owned by.
We all know that
Same company.
Facebook doesn't respect your privacy.
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's
assume
very
that
true.
They don't secure any of that.
Because on LinkedIn, you can see who's seen your profile too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was very clear that it was from Cow.
Was it a nice donation?
It was like
okay.
$25. It was
Okay.
like a good donation.
Yeah.
But it was still incredibly creepy.
Yeah. for
And I
sure.
like went to my friends and I was like, did I tell you this story about this cow profile recently? Like, are you just fucking with me? And they were like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I explained what was happening and they were like, do you need a place to sleep tonight? Like, this is horrifying. But I ended up emailing the email address associated with the donation. And I was like, thank you for your donation. I know you probably didn't intend for it to come off this way, but I'm incredibly freaked out by the fact that you did this. And maybe in the future, you should think a little bit more about the implications that your actions have. I never heard back.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like when we were trashing my ex-boyfriend a couple of episodes ago, you were talking about the fact that like you as a man, and you don't know if women have the same, or any gender has the same viewpoint, but you don't see the implications of one action connected to the other.
Yeah, I feel I need to articulate that a bit better, and maybe we'll turn to that in a future episode. But yes, I can definitely see that as something I might do if I was college aged. No, especially when I like started spending time on dating profiles, I was like, okay, this is a very frustrating process. I'm just going to kind of have fun with it. So, I'd ask people random questions. I'd try to engage with their profiles, but sometimes, come up with like a funny pun or like little snarky thing to say. And some people responded to that really positively and others didn't. And frankly, I'd be like, oh, 3 years later, if I had really engaged with someone and seen their stuff, I can imagine there'd be a mental state where I'd be like, you know what? I enjoyed spending time with that person and they need a leg up. I'll send them, a donation or something and help them out. And I probably
After
would
you
not
were literally ghosted, though?
Fair point. Yeah, I can see it coming from a place of earnestness while also still being creepy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing that I was actually going to go sleep on my friend's couch for.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely a thing that freaked me out.
No, that's very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun story.
Yeah,
Dating is great.
That's my scary internet story.
Yeah.
That's very fair. I had not something similar, but something weird happened because I had posted one of my profile pictures was the same picture that I had in one of my dating app.
Yeah,
profile
that's how I think
pictures.
you found me.
Yeah. And so as soon as somebody found it, it was within the first few days, I had swiped left on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he just assumed that we didn't match because I was inactive or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wasn't attracted to his profile.
Yeah.
And he found me on Instagram and sent me this very long DM. And he was like, if you're this person and I see that you are so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Let's go out sometime. And you have to, if somebody DMs you and you have a private account on Instagram, you have to approve the message. And I didn't even approve it. I just blocked his account so fast. I was like, this is so incredibly creepy.
Yeah.
Because he went out of his way to make it be known that he was willing to go through the steps of trying to find a private account on Instagram.
Yeah. That's
which
super creepy.
Is very hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, I want to circle back to your initial question. I prefer OkCupid for dating. Sorry, let's say preferred in the past tense, because I feel I can know a lot about individuals and really kind of get my finger on the pulse of what makes them tick and whether or not we'd vibe well. I do think the problem with OkCupid is people might get really particular and they might, start looking for certain characteristics, which may or may not actually be things that would make or break a relationship for them. I think this ability to filter by certain preferences is a little creepy and can be used for I don't know, racism, because OkCupid, if you buy the premium version, allows you to filter by basically everything from religious
including
preference
race.
to age range to race.
What?
Yeah. So I can see that being a little problematic, but yeah, I do enjoy the ability to understand people before I message them and, try to tailor a response to what they say.
I think the point about it almost being too specific at points to the point where it lets you be a little too choosy is a really valid critique. In the times I'd used OkCupid before I met Joel, that definitely happened and was a big reason I quit, because you answer, there are hundreds of questions that you can answer if you want to.
Yeah.
And then it shows you a match percentage and you can see what questions you answered similarly and which questions you didn't. So sometimes it would be oh, this person doesn't make their bed every day. Swipe left, which is not a super valid reason to not go out with somebody, but it can let you be super choosy in a way that's not always helpful sometimes, even though it does give you more detail about people.
Yeah, I think we discussed this when we've discussed abortion before on this podcast, where there are certain political issues where no, this will make sense.
Okay.
Just stay with me for a moment.
Okay.
There are certain issues where they are make or break for a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Where people have very strong opinions one way or another, whether it's finances or whether or not to have kids or religious preferences or involvement of parents in the relationship. And I think those need to be discussed really quickly or even before you interact with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get that out of the way and, figure out, whether or not you can live with the other quirks of the individual.
No, OkCupid does a really good job of getting that stuff out of the way.
I think abortion's a good example, and you can, tailor that on OkCupid. One thing they did starting, I think, beginning of 2021 was whether or not you're vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really big thing
Yeah.
a lot of people care about. So that's a really useful way of, quickly filtering out undesirable characteristics and not getting in a relationship with someone without already knowing that. But I do think that the algorithm tries to push people together who are really similar, who have, very similar personalities and media interests and other stuff. And I'm not convinced that necessarily makes for happier relationships. I think if you like exactly the same things, you might have difficulty talking about stuff.
I think it's
we
good
send
to
each
have...
other the same memes all
We
the
do
time.
send each other the same memes.
I think it's good because like sometimes you need something to like start the relationship with. You need to be like, oh, you like falafel? I like falafel. Let's go get falafel. But I think that there's good commonalities and there's bad commonalities, like you said. What I was going to say is that I think this was last January, we were on our way back from Sedona and we were sharing our like dating profiles with our parents. I don't know why we did that, but we were just doing it. And so I shared my Hinge and my Bumble profile with my mom, and she was like, okay, this is kind of strange. Like, I don't really, like, this doesn't really show who you are. And then Joel showed my mom, and it was like pages and pages of like, not like stuff about him. I personally would not feel comfortable sharing that much information just because I have been in experiences where people tailor what they like / dislike based off of what I like / dislike. So I like to give the bare minimum amount of information and sort of tailor my pictures around the person that I am, such as I have a picture of me on Castro Street, which gives a little bit of, oh, I am LGBTQ plus friendly, without saying I am a leftist or something like that.
Naomi's a big believer of the show not tell form of writing.
No, it just makes me uncomfortable putting that amount of information out on the internet. Obviously, if you are on Instagram, it's easier to say like, oh, you have like a private profile. You can't do that on Hinge and Bumble, and dating for a woman is obviously very scary as is. Like you just said about the cows. Like the cows are after you, man.
The cows are after you.
And those things are heavy. If they stay on, you're toast.
Stampede. But yeah, I totally like get it because there's like certain filters on Hinge and Bumble where you can be like, you're vaccinated, you have kids, you don't have kids, blah, blah, blah. But you can't necessarily, not everyone fills out all of those filters. I personally don't. So sometimes like you'll get the annoying like profile where the person's like, oh, that isn't my kid, I don't have any, that's actually my niece or something. And it's like, okay, I didn't need that information, but thank you for telling me. Like I appreciate it. I would have just been like, oh, he's trying to show that he's good with kids or specifically that child. Unless it's in like every single picture he has a child with the same child with him and in his profile. Like I've matched with a couple of people that are single dads and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be a stepmother. That'd be very awkward, especially since I'm like 8 years older than this child. So yeah, there was a guy who was like a little bit older than me and had a 12-year-old.
Wow.
And I was like, that's awkward. That's very awkward.
But you know what? Great story to talk about on the first date.
Yeah. Like, how did this happen?
And then pay for your drinks and leave and never talk to him again.
Exactly. Yeah, make sure he didn't have an additional child that night.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, what was your first date?
We went to a board game cafe called Snakes and Lattes.
Okay.
Yes.
I do remember this night very clearly because it was a night where I was staying in on a Friday, which was quite unusual apparently to Joel, and I was cleaning out our storage cabinet. And I was going through light bulbs, and I was testing light bulbs on a Friday night. And Joel was like getting ready, and I was helping him, do his thing because I knew he was going on a date.
She did nothing.
I helped you with your hair and your outfit. Shut up. I was trying to play into it and be like, he did all the work. I was just mildly helping him, but no, I helped you.
Sure.
And so I was going through the light bulbs and stuff, and he was like so excited. And he was like, she commented on my denim, a comment on OkCupid. So please explain that.
Do you want to explain that?
Sure. So, like you said, Joel had a really long OkCupid profile.
Yeah.
About halfway through, it said something along the lines of, I'm surprised you made it this far. I'm not going to answer this question. Instead, I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you that you're totally pulling off that high-waisted denim that you just bought. Like you're single-handedly going to bring it back. And that's what I messaged him about first, because I messaged him first. I was like, I literally just bought high-waisted jeans. So this gave me the confidence to wear them. So thank you. Yeah, that's how we first started talking.
For our listeners, yes, OkCupid has a lot of questions, and one that I see filled out all the time in an attempt to make their profile seem longer, I think, is 6 things I can't live without. And I think I don't know what it is, but nearly
It's
every
all the
single
same
woman
thing.
who has this is like water, oxygen, Starbucks, Wi-Fi.
As the resident pansexual here, I can tell you that both men and women put the exact same things in that section. It's like, my family, God, air, ha ha ha. Like, it's lol. It's all the same.
I think it's really funny, the generational difference, because you guys say lol and Jordan says lol. I say LOL.
Interesting.
Yeah. Just thought I'd point that out. That was not relevant at all to the conversation.
Well, you ground it to a halt as we all process that. Yeah, so anyways, I put my high-waisted denim in there, I don't know, far too long ago, and
Do you
someone
have any
finally
high-waisted
responded
denim?
to it. I plead the Fifth Amendment. Also the Fourth Amendment. I refuse to have any soldiers in my home.
That's the Third Amendment.
Also that one.
And the 13th. Slavery.
I'm not going to... Let's move on. The first date, I think I mentioned on the podcast, I used to think board game cafes were a good idea, and I'm not sure.
So did I. I've done multiple first dates at Snakes and Lattes, and I don't know why I never learned the lesson that Snakes and Lattes first dates are not great.
Can you
think-
re-explain the concept of a board game cafe? It's
Sure.
pretty self-explanatory, but for our listeners, I feel like
It's a weird
an
concept.
experience.
It's not everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an experience.
So it's a restaurant/bar, pretty normal, but they have a massive selection of board games that you can check out and play at your table while you're eating and drinking and stuff. So that's what you end up doing on the date, is playing a bunch of board games.
Yeah, so my thought was dates are stressful, there's lots of expectations. Board game cafes offer a great opportunity to just like shoot the breeze, enjoy some drinks, enjoy some, tasty food while, playing something and, having fun with, somebody. And, obviously that person needs to be into board games. I'm not going to drag someone along who's like a huge sports fan or something. But that was my thinking. And the problem is we both like board games. And so we were
This
spending...
is going to be awful at Thanksgiving if Mom makes us play a board game.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because he always wins and Mom always complains because she's like, why can't we ever play a game where he doesn't win?
Oh, he doesn't always win.
Well, yes. So Lauren proceeded to kick my ass in pretty much everything we played.
Damn!
So
That's hard to do.
We need to bring out the old Scrabble board. Let me assert my vocabulary in the field.
Yeah, I'm not very
It
good
won't
at
even
Scrabble.
be like, we'll all drop out. Like, you guys will just be like...
Yeah, but like she kept kicking my butt, and so we're just having these long periods of silence where we're both staring at each other's cards and trying to strategize and come up with some game-winning move. And we're not talking. We're not.
We
sharing
hardly talked at
details.
all on the first date.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't unpleasant, but I
No,
don't
it was
feel
fine.
like
Obviously, you guys had a
anything-
second date, so
Yeah.
I'm guessing
Yeah.
it wasn't bad.
No, it was fine.
I think it shows like how smart you are. That's my critique of the date.
Sure, and not socially inept.
Well, this is where I was grateful for the length of the OkCupid profile, because I was like, this guy has to be so much more interesting than he was on this date.
Damn!
Fair.
we gotta find that out. We gotta test the waters a little bit more to see what's up.
So yeah, we did do a second date, I don't know, 2 weeks later, a week and a half later.
Yeah.
We went and got Mediterranean food at my favorite Mediterranean place in Tempe, Haji Baba for our listeners.
It's
small,
very good.
Yeah.
It's super
It's been there
delicious.
for a really long time,
It's
too.
also, dirt cheap, which I'm not saying that like drag your dates to the cheapest places, but I'm always impressed when someone can offer an amazing high quality product for low prices. Show your frugality in front of yourself.
Yes, exactly.
But no, we had Mediterranean food and just started talking, and a lot of interesting details about you started to spill out. And I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. And we just kept talking and talking. We were there for like 2 hours. And then we decided to go, I think you proposed getting drinks at the Hudson, which is a bar just like, I don't know,
About a
50
block
feet
away, yeah.
away. And we were there for like another 3 hours just talking. And
Is that
talking.
good? I'm supposed to go there later.
Yeah, it was good. The
Okay.
cocktails were good.
We
Okay.
didn't try any of the food, but I'd go back. It
I'd
was
go
a nice
back too.
experience.
Yeah.
So the funny thing about this second date was I didn't know where you are, so I checked your location, which I always do. And it's so fun having
I'm
people's
disabling
location.
this.
And I saw that you weren't home, and I was like, okay, that's kind of strange. You must be out with friends. I thought you were at my favorite Vietnamese place, which he refuses to go to because he does not like Vietnamese food. He doesn't like vegetarian Vietnamese food because he doesn't think that they put enough oomph into it. And so I thought that you were there, and I was about to cuss you out when you got home, but I didn't want to like let you know that I knew you were on a date, so I didn't say anything, and I've been quiet about it ever since. So I'm glad that you told me that you weren't at my favorite Vietnamese place without me.
Great. So we've learned that my sister likes to stalk me, which I do not like as a revelation.
Okay, can we totally get off subject, but on the sort of same subject? I don't think that having your partner's location, unless you live with them, is a good idea.
So what you're saying is your sibling should also not have your location.
Well, I give you my location for safety reasons when I started dating online.
Yes.
That's smart.
Yeah. And so it was like a real-time thing. It wasn't like Snapchat where it was like, last time they were on the app was like 3 hours ago at this location. But I don't think it's a good idea to have your partner's location because I think that like you can, I don't like it. Because if you can see that someone's like doing something and they're not texting you back, you know what I mean? Then it just like causes tension. And I'm not saying that this is your type of relationship, but I have had a lot of friends that get really insecure and they're like, oh, well, he obviously is out at a bar right now. He should be texting me back, or he should be at home, or like he told me he was here and he wasn't, which obviously there's more complications in that relationship than just getting a text back.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just think it's a dangerous thing. And yeah.
I'm really glad that Lauren doesn't have my location because there is an event that happened, 2 months ago now? We were supposed to go back to Snakes and Lattes to meet up with some of our friends, and we did do that and had a lovely evening. Some great board games you can play with 4 people, many more than with 2
We
people.
also didn't talk with them. Joel
This
knows
is
nothing
true.
about my friends.
One of them's tall.
One of them's tall. I'm going to tell him you said that.
Excellent.
That's the takeaway.
And we were supposed to go there, and the night before, my friend Werfel was in town.
Yeah.
And I went to Superstition Meadery in Phoenix with him.
Great restaurant. Go there on a date.
Yeah, and we were thinking maybe we'd meet up with some of my friends at a bar afterwards, but like no one responded in the group chat. And I was like, okay, well, I've done things with Noah before. There was like an arcade place we could go to, and that place was closed. And I'm like, we could go to Snakes and Lattes. And he's like, I love that place. So we went to Snakes and Lattes, and I wasn't planning it this way initially, but then I thought, hey, I'm going to be here with Lauren the next night. I can practice all the board games we played last time and get better at them.
Rude.
So yeah, I did get a little bit better at said board games, and then played the exact same one with Lauren the next evening, and she still kicked my ass. So all that
There
practice
was one
for
time
nothing.
when you finally beat me by
One out
like
of,
a
like,
point.
8
One out-
total
yeah.
games.
What was this?
It's called Fantasy Realms. It's a card game.
It's a deck building game where you're trying to build the best deck of 7 or 8 cards, and certain cards, if you pair them with others, give you bonuses, and if you have very specific cards, you can change the entire point values of your deck. And there's a lot of strategy in it, but a lot of it's also randomness. But Lauren is very good at this to a statistical deviation. Yeah, I think I've won 1 out of 8 total games.
Yep.
Yeah, she's much better than me at that, and I'm totally okay with that and secure in my masculinity. A big part of masculinity is being good at card games. I don't know. If
Yeah.
you knew
And
that.
not asking directions.
Not asking directions.
Yeah.
Both of these things are true. So yes, that's my dirty little secret. I'm really happy Lauren did not
No,
have
the
my
best part of
location.
this story. The best part of this story is that the next night when we're at Snakes and Lattes with my friends, the waiter comes up and he's like, were you in here yesterday? To Joel. And Joel's like, no, you must have seen somebody else with a man bun.
And then I tried to play it off. I was like, bet there's a lot of guys with man buns and glasses who come into this board game cafe. And in fairness, there's like 3 guys sitting
That's
behind
true.
us with man buns. So I was able to lie. But then like 2 days later, I felt bad. And
Yeah, he
confessed
felt bad and told me. He was
This
like, I
is
was there.
Joel's go-to response whenever I ask him something that he's trying to keep from me is, don't worry about it.
Mhm.
So I'll ask him something. I'll be like, hey, so like, what do you want to do for your birthday? And he's like, don't worry about it.
But then I'm not lying to you. That's just my yeah.
Go-to response.
Well, it's more like I don't want to discuss it at all. Like, let's...
Screw you.
It's not even that I'm lying per se. It's just like, this isn't a conversation I want to have at this point in time. What are we doing for my birthday, Naomi?
I don't know. It's coming up.
This is true.
Yeah.
For our listeners, no, please don't send stuff to our P.O. box. It's a bad idea.
We don't even have a P.O. box.
That you know of. Don't worry about it.
See? So, Lauren, now that we've discussed OkCupid and how we all met, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Some
Well, that
key
took a while.
points.
Some key points. Let's see. Well, as Joel said, I'm in my third year of law school. I'm studying to hopefully become a public defender. I have an internship next semester with the Maricopa County Legal Advocates Office where I get to handle my own felony cases, which should be really cool.
When you say your own felony cases, these aren't felonies that you've committed.
These are not felonies that I've committed. Not yet, anyway. I'll defend myself.
She'll get more creative as she goes through the cases, though.
Oh, yeah.
I will.
It's like listening to murder mystery. Murder
Exactly.
podcasts. Yeah.
Let's see. What else about me? I'm 26. I grew up in Kansas. I went to college at the University of Denver in Colorado. And then, as Joel said, taught for a couple years after that. I spent a lot of my life in speech and debate, and I've been all over the world because of it, including Greece, actually. I really like cats. I'm super into cats. I volunteer with a cat rescue in Gilbert called Desert Paws Rescue, which is a really great organization. You should donate if you have extra funds to give. What else about me?
You talk about your artwork.
Oh, yeah. I have a bunch of tattoos. Well, not a bunch of tattoos, but
More than average.
more than...
What is average?
I'm going to assume
That's a
most
good
people
question.
don't have a tattoo. I'm going to say average is 0.5, given all the people who have full body tattoos.
Yeah.
0.5 tattoos?
Across the whole global population.
Half a tattoo per person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a better source? This is me guesstimating.
Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, the one Joel is referencing, I'm wearing a dress without sleeves, is the one on my back shoulder, which is, it's of flowers that my grandma grew in her garden before she died. So, yeah.
See, I was attracted to her when I first saw these tattoos because I'm like, now here's someone who knows how to motorbike and is probably a member of the Hells Angels and wears leather jackets and, causes mayhem and felonies that one day she'll have to defend herself in court over.
Are there any tattoos that you see on people that you are attracted to that you are no longer attracted to them because of?
I'm sure that there would be. I've never had that happen, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way you ask that makes me think that you're thinking of something in particular.
Okay, so you know
pass.
how there's usually the typical men tattoos? I've only dated men. Typical men tattoos versus the more edgy tattoos as you get more into the tattoo world. Bible quotes.
Yep.
Crosses. Roses. Clocks. Tigers.
Yep.
Lions. Bears, oh my.
Yeah.
Things of that sort versus a cobweb or a chest piece, something like that.
Yeah.
There's this phrase that I've seen used before. Are both of you familiar with cargo cult science?
No.
Now, I think modern anthropologists might be screaming at this recording because I don't know if this is still thought to be a real thing that happens or just behavior that was observed by anthropologists or interfering with native populations. Post-World War II, there was a study done of populations in Pacific countries, specifically tribal people, who would build mock airstrips and do procedure rituals similar to landing procedures with the flags and the flashing lights in an attempt to summon goods from the heavens. And it's thought that they saw during World War II all of these Americans and Japanese landing on these landing strips. And, the people would come up before the plane landed and, do the flag waving and the procedures. And so they were thinking, oh, stuff came down from the sky when they did this. If we mimic the exact same ritual, the same thing will happen for us. And so this is referred to colloquially as cargo cult science, because it's people who are attempting to cause an effect to happen without fully understanding why the thing is happening. Now, again, I don't know if this is still considered to be a legitimate thing, but I think the principle is good. The reason I bring that up is I've seen the phrase used online, cargo cult masculinity, which I find really effective because it's people who adopt the trappings of what they consider to be masculine without knowing why those things actually make someone masculine. The first example I think I saw of it was Robert Evans, the guy who does the Behind the Bastards podcast, who was at a protest in Portland last year. And a white nationalist guy in this huge bulletproof vest and helmet and had a gun strapped to his back and a baton actually broke his fingers But Robert Evans, who like has apparently covered like war crimes in the Middle East, like was not intimidated by this and kept staring at the dude. And the dude just like, even though he just broken his hand, proceeded to back up. And later in the day, there's footage of him like wailing and sobbing as the police begin to arrest people in this group. And he's like, this is a perfect example of cargo cult masculinity. It's someone who's adopted all of the characteristics that he thinks makes someone masculine without recognizing that in order to, have all these things, you also need to have the appropriate attitude and sternness and like disposition to carry all of this.
Sheep in wolf's clothing.
Exactly. The reason I bring all that up is I think a lot of people who get the tattoos you're describing are doing cargo cult masculinity.
Which ones? The typical ones or?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Because they think they can be perceived as more masculine than they are by having, this tattoo on. They can be perceived as more religious than they actually are by having this cross on. And that also kind of jives with something I've heard about like social research in gang activity, where the people who most feel they don't identify in the gang do the most extreme things to fit in. So somebody who, feels that the gang hasn't fully accepted them is more likely to commit crimes in the gang's name or even like murder people because they feel they have to act out to show they're truly committed to being part of the gang. And that applies not just to gangs, but all organizations where like people in like businesses will potentially exhibit more sociopathic behavior to show they're one of the people who fits into this corporation. They feel they have to prove something. While everyone else is like, no, I'm a member of this organization. It's all fine. And so they're doing these tattoos. They're doing these elaborate, tank top, gun carrying pictures with elk they've just killed, giant fish they've just caught, in an attempt to show off, I fit these definitions of traditional masculinity. I'm one of the gang, the masculine gang. Does that make any sense? Am I just rambling?
I understand what you're saying, and I'm kind of chuckling to myself because often when I like see people with tattoos, I'm like, oh, that's a really cool tattoo. What does that mean? I fully understand and I don't judge for, oh, this has no meaning. I just thought it looked cool. But I hate when people kind of stretch the truth or what I perceive as them stretching the truth in such a way that I say, oh, what does that clock mean? Like that's on your arm because they have a full sleeve and it's just like lions and tigers and bears and clocks and roses and stuff. And they're like, time is just so important and it's like always running away from you. And I can't tell you how many times, like, I'm just like, time, bro, like, time. And that's why I'm chuckling.
Can you talk about Nietzsche, guy?
Oh, my God. Okay, hold on. Let me pull this up.
Okay, so for context, I am now following Lauren on Twitter. She's following me. And I was, like, interested in the type of content she, tweets about and retweets. And, scrolling back through her feed and saw a post she made several weeks before we started chatting about Nietzsche, guy. Nietzsche guy is...
I can't find Nietzsche guy. I'll just have to explain it.
To be clear, one of the things that I find very attractive about Lauren is she's read a lot. She's read a lot about international relations. She's read a lot of philosophy. She's read a lot of like news and is aware of current events. And so has like a very deep knowledge base on a wide variety of things. Would you agree?
I hope so.
Fair enough.
So I was talking to this guy and he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said I wanted to be a public defender. And he asked me why. And I sort of explained, like, part of the reason I want to be a public defender is because of my experience in the school system. Like,
the public school system.
Yeah. Like, things would happen with my kids, the kids that I was teaching. I'll call them my kids. I don't have kids. That had to do with the criminal justice system, that had to do with the family welfare system, that I just couldn't solve. Like, I could listen and I could pass the buck and report, but I couldn't really do anything about it. Like, I had a kid come to me one time and said, who was like, I'm really tired. I said, why? And he goes, my mom made me sleep in the park last night. And all you can do about that is file a CPS report. So being a public defender, you have a little bit more power to use intellectual rather than emotional energy to address these kinds of problems. And I still like helping people. I want to be able to have a little bit more power to actually do that. And this guy was like, to that response, he was like, have you read Nietzsche? And I was like, yes. And he's like, well, I haven't read Nietzsche, but my understanding is that something about power or something.
Cargo cult of philosophy, bro.
Yes, cargo cult philosophy.
Okay,
bro.
this reminds me, we were at a close friend, this is really dark, but we were at a close friends memorial service, God, like 10, 12 years ago now. And there was a lot of people there. She had affected a lot of people's lives. And this guy just gets up, and the best way I can describe him is he was a gigolo. And
Juggalo.
Gigolo.
Those are different things.
Gigolo is a guy who has sex with women for money.
I'm describing him here. You're not.
Juggalo is the insane clown posse guy.
I was describing him as a gigolo. You might have described him as a juggalo, but
They were 100% juggalos. I don't know about the sex.
I think he looked like a gigolo.
Okay. Keep going.
So anyways, my story. He gets up and he's like, you know, I knew nothing about her. I've never met her in my life, but she seemed like a great person based off of all of the things that I've heard about her. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, this was a person that I considered to be a big sister figure, like someone who I was very close to.
Yeah.
Someone who had affected my life in a big way. And this guy just gets up and he's like, I know nothing about this woman, but I'm going to talk about her. And I was like, fuck you, bro. But anyways, that was what that reminded me of. And you know what? I'm not surprised by that comment that guy made.
No, it was real funny. So I took a screenshot and I tweeted about it.
Did you like block him? Did you tell him off?
I ghosted him.
Oh, okay, that's very fair. After that comment?
Yeah.
What was this on?
This was on OkCupid.
Nice.
Yeah, tip for both genders or all genders. Don't pretend to be something you're not on dating. It's okay to like sometimes stretch the truth if it makes a more interesting narrative, but like those lies are going to come out pretty quickly.
For sure.
In this case, it sounds like within 15 minutes of him pretending that he knew anything about philosophy. Yeah, there's nothing more attractive than somebody who clearly has no idea what they're talking about and is making things up to make themselves seem more interesting.
I think that it's like more attractive to me when people can admit that they don't know about something instead of trying to fake it till they make it.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really interesting when somebody clearly has a deep knowledge base on something that they just pull out at random times. And they don't like go off on crazy rants about it or anything, but it's more like, oh, I don't know anything about like this insect over here. And they're like, well, actually, and they give like the kingdom phylum class of this insect and explain like its mating habits and where it's found and what times of year it's out, whether or not it's poisonous. And like, oh, that's really cool. And then like they don't talk about that ever again. Except then 5 years later, you're out camping and you're like, oh, I just got stung by this, and they're like, well, that's a scorpion, and that thing has actually no venom because it's an adult. And they go off on another rant about insects. I think that's really cool having like hidden knowledge, and I think that's ultimately which distinguishes a lot of people from one another is they have these crazy different experiences that every so often they just need to pull out. And it adds, additional layers and depths to them. But yeah, it is so unattractive when they pretend to have that and pretend to know a lot more about what they actually don't.
I think it makes it funnier when you actually are the one that knows more about the subject. So you're just sitting there like, no, you're like in your head, you're like, you're so wrong right now. Like, I know that you're faking this.
Well, this is mansplaining in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess mansplaining also encompasses guys who like know about the topic, but clearly are speaking to someone who knows a lot more about the topic. But yeah, I would say mansplaining a lot of the time is somebody who's not an expert in the field attempting to explain to a woman who is an expert in the field about, how to do a process or, what to think about a certain thing.
Or how to have a breakup. My ex-boyfriend.
Oof. Damn, that's a callback.
I'm just surprised that he admitted that he hadn't read Nietzsche. And he was just
I know, right? He could have just played it off and said what he said, which was wrong. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was just a wrong interpretation of Nietzsche.
Well, as Nietzsche, a famous Nazi, used to say. Yeah, I guess that's my big takeaway. Lauren, I will say this. I think that you're exactly how you described yourself on the dating profile, but also have additional depths that keep opening up, keep learning new things about you. And
have you
very cool.
Worn the denim in front of him?
I have worn the denim in front of him.
Was that first date and second date?
Second date.
Second date.
Yeah.
Okay. I do remember denim on second date.
Would you like to talk about what it's like to travel abroad in a relationship?
Yeah, I know we're running a little bit out of time. I just had a couple thoughts on that. Ironically, I feel traveling abroad is a great way to get new dating profile photos. Now, I'm not saying the only reason you take photos is so you can put them on a dating profile, but often I think we've discussed on this podcast the difficulty of taking good, interesting photos that make you seem like someone who's cool and compelling with hidden depths, like we just discussed. And when you're traveling abroad, I'm not saying everyone who travels has hidden depths, but it clearly indicates that, you've had experiences the average person hasn't experienced, which, it's kind of cool. And so, yeah, like I took lots of photos where I'm like, oh, I look really attractive and compelling in that. And you will probably, dear listener, see some of those on podcast covers in the future. But yeah, I thought that, was a fun aspect of it. I will say, with regards to traveling in a relationship, it can be a little weird because, we've been talking for what, a month and a half, 2 months before I left.
Yeah.
I think I sprang on you like week 3. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm taking off for multiple weeks. I hope you don't feel too bad about that. Now, in fairness, Lauren did do it first. She's been traveling back and forth to Colorado for many weeks, visiting friends and catching up on things. You had a wedding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were doing a lot of stuff. This was not the best time for us to start a relationship.
When is a good time to start a relationship?
Great.
Good.
Am I right?
The best time to start a relationship was 5 years ago. The next best time is today. Yeah, I think communication is important.
Communication is very important.
We were, I think, texting back and forth consistently. I kept sending her choice memes and pretty photos that I was not posting in my public Instagram.
I don't know if you were like the album, the Europe album was shared with you. It was shared with a lot of people.
I think you shared it with me. Yeah.
But I could tell which pictures Joel's took because mostly all of them were of butts. Like it would be like a monument and then it'd just be like people's backs to the camera and I'd be like, that's Joel's.
Damn. Well, it also says my name on the photo in the shared album.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Mistakes were made. Yeah, so I would say communication is important. We were talking every other day. We were communicating. We talked on the phone when I had good internet access, which was not always the case. I would say if we had met a little bit sooner, I would have invited you along. I don't know if you would have taken you up on the offer, given it was in the middle of
I was going to say in the
year.
middle of my semester.
Yeah, but it's nice spending time with people you like and especially enjoying new experiences with them. Like, I like cooking for people and I enjoy having them sample the things that I make because I'm like, oh, this is really good kimchi that I just made. I would love other people to enjoy this kimchi as well. It's less that I want people to tell me I'm a great cook and more of, I think this is cool and there are people in my life who I like that I want this experience to be shared with. In the same way, I think traveling with a significant other is probably a lot like that, where it's you hanging out and seeing the world and having all these, crazy experiences that you would not get in Arizona if you lived there your entire life. And, you can kind of do that with videos and photos, but it's a lot nicer having, the people with you. I was traveling with friends, so, I got a lot of that. We, ate some great food together. We had some crazy travel stories together where the airlines or, the security officials were weird in one way or another. But no, it's a nice, I'm sure, traveling with a significant other. And we've already made plans to potentially do something like that in the next couple of months.
Our uncle gave us some advice pretty early on in our life. And he said, if she doesn't travel well, she's not a good partner.
You have to be compatible travelers too. I'm thinking even of just my family. Like my mom and my brother are very similar travelers and my dad and I are very similar travelers. But between the two groups, we do not.
It's like butting heads. Yeah.
We butt heads a lot.
I've heard the advice that if before you marry someone, you need to experience some kind of financial stress. You need to experience the loss of a significant person in either of each other's lives. You need to travel together. And there's something else. I don't remember the complete list. But the idea is that, you don't really know someone until you understand how they handle stress.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stress on my trip.
There was a lot of stress on your trip.
But in the same way, when you're traveling, I think there are different expectations. Me, personally, I like waking up early and getting stuff done around the city. I'm not too much of a night person. And so, my friends like going to clubs and hanging out. And I'm like, my internal clock. But, my friends, when we were traveling, liked waking up 10 o'clock, 10:30. And so us rolling out before noon was a good day. And yeah, I think traveling with a significant other is important to test that too, because it's not just, whether or not you have issues with your passports. It's also, are you going to get into fights over, what you're seeing and doing? Are you going to, be able to handle the stress of, away from a support network if needed? There's a lot that I think travel can reveal. And I'm not saying that you need travel in order to assess whether or not someone's a good partner, but it's a good litmus test.
You and I traveled together for the first time alone this year, and that was an interesting experience because I feel like you and I have very similar. This is my perspective. You could have a totally different perspective. You and I have very similar way of traveling. I'm usually the one in my friend group that's like, this is where we're going. This is the map, how to get there. This is how much time we need. And when I was traveling with you, I didn't have to like care about those things. You were like, oh, okay, this is where we're going to go. And like, you were like, we have to leave for the airport at this time. And so it was like a very easy experience traveling with you. It got a little nerve-wracking when we had to sit in an airport for 3 hours at the gate because Joel refused to leave for the airport at any less than 4 hours before our flight. And then security took exactly 5 minutes because no one was at SFO. So
it was a beautiful terminal. That Harvey Milk terminal. Great expansion to an already amazing airport.
Yeah, but I appreciated traveling with you. You were a good traveler.
A couple other travel tips. If you're traveling to a place abroad, you can download a Google map for that city. So you do not need Wi-Fi connection in order to navigate. In fact,
subways are the same way. You can like see the routes and stuff.
Yeah, it's very helpful if you're trying to get around. Also, I have a Google Places map, which is just a map of the world that allows you to attach pins to locations that you're interested in visiting. And so if you're trying to, go to an area and figure out, okay, I want to do this thing today, what else is, in my immediate vicinity, it's really easy to figure out, what your day is going to look like in advance. You say, hey, we're going to go visit the Acropolis in Athens. Then head down the south side and visit the Acropolis Museum. We're then going to head north from there if we have enough time and visit this old cool neighborhood that's on the southeast side of the Acropolis, and then maybe end our day eating dinner at this location. And so, yeah, if you're someone who likes meticulously planning out your trips, I would strongly suggest that. Also, pack more socks and underwear than you think you're going to need.
That's always a good rule. Always pack an extra outfit as well.
Yeah. Do you have any critiques about how I handled traveling?
I really don't. Wow.
You can tell me them after the podcast.
No, I was nervous about it. I've had instances where significant others are apart for a long period of time go horrifically wrong before, and this was totally fine.
I'll say Lauren was very supportive during my ordeal. I was communicating with her on the reg, letting her know what was up as I was stranded. And
what do you even say in that situation?
I tried not to use the word disaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were just like, I'm so sorry this is happening to you. Like, that's what I would say.
No, I said I was along, because I've traveled with people who don't handle stress very well. Like, I'm thinking of my dad. We went to, I've told you this story, right? So I went to Jordan with my dad right before law school. And we sat on the tarmac in Kansas City for like 3 hours. We missed our connecting flight to Jordan and Chicago, and it was super late.
Yeah.
And we got to the hotel, and there was nothing to eat at the hotel. And my dad ended up like throwing a chair because he was just so like hangry and stressed out at this point. And I had to be totally the adult in the room the entire time. Like, I was the one handling the flight
Was it
changes.
just you and him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was the one handling the bags. I was the one handling everything. He just did not handle that super well. So I was really impressed with Joel's attitude and how he sort of said, like, okay, this is the situation.
Oh, shucks.
What can I do about it? I can make a plan to go to the passport office. That's all I can do about it right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out.
If that doesn't work out, I'm going to go home and sleep for 3 weeks.
Exactly. So it was cool to see him deal with that type of adversity, sort of in the same way that I've dealt with it in the past.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
I would say one thing, too. I don't remember if it's Thoreau or Emerson. They're basically the same person. Come at me, poetry and prose bros. Prose bros. Oh,
prose bros.
But I think it was Thoreau said something to the effect of, I don't understand people who think that if they travel, it'll relieve their depression or existential angst. Like, you'll still have that. You'll just be staring at the Great Pyramids while you have that angst. You need to be able to, like, solve your problems in the here and now rather than imagining that travel is going to magically, like, relieve all your burdens and stress. And I kind of feel that in a similar way, travel can help reveal the things that are most important to you. And yeah, I would say it's important perhaps to travel without your significant other for the simple fact that they help reveal how important they are, and how nice they are, and how they help you mitigate stress. I do appreciate how Naomi keeps making puking noises as though any of these are bad things and or disgusting. Like, let's talk about your relationships, Naomi.
All bad. Figuring it out. No, actually, that's a really good point. I was talking to one of my close friends about dating very recently. This was like Thursday of this week. And I was like, if I wasn't in a relationship for the rest of my life, I'd be so happy. That's where I'm at right now.
Ouch. Yeah, I think it's difficult to assess the value of a relationship until you've had a really good one. because like I think a lot of people get into relationships where they get in, and we've discussed this before, because they want to have a relationship. They want the cargo cult of appearing like they have their shit together.
Yeah.
And they don't really know what to expect besides doing coupley things. They don't really have an idea of what they want out of it besides this generic get married and have kids. And they don't think about all the ways another person can enhance their emotional, spiritual, mental, and even physical health. And yeah, I think relationships can be really, really good at, helping people. That's not to say everyone needs to be in a relationship. And frankly, a lot of people probably would be happier without relationships. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the time we've had together.
Aww.
And now I'm traveling to Russia for 5 years. I'm going to explore the center of the earth with a team of sled dogs.
I love how you think that Russia is the center of the earth.
No, that's a separate thing. I'm going on multiple adventures.
Multiple trips.
I just purchased a collection of Jules Verne novels, so that's where my headspace is.
Oh, okay.
Center of the earth, around the world in 80 days, all
Gotcha.
that stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds like fun. Hot air balloon around the world.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. So
I
yeah,
don't think hot air balloons will go that far.
We'd have to make some stops.
Yeah, I feel like it'd get way down, like mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, then we'll get a submarine. Way to be a Debbie Downer, Naomi. Before you've ever tried to
This
solve
is
a
a
problem,
fantasy?
spend
You're
5
ruining the
minutes
fantasy
thinking
right now?
about the different ways that the problem can be addressed. And
I don't
only
like
then
how
declare
similar
it
you
as
two are.
impossible. We're actually the same person, just moving back and forth super fast.
Yeah.
I let my hair down. She puts on a pair of glasses.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I grew a beard.
You grow a beard. Yeah, it's very impressive.
Pretty impressive.
Slow down the footage. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to talk about. Lauren, do you have any closing thoughts?
No.
Great. I know you've already plugged a pluggable. Do you have anything else that you want to, any good causes you think are worthy of support? Anything you want people to pay attention to?
Good causes that are worthy of support.
Can you repeat the name of your cat rescue?
Sure, it's Desert Paws Rescue out of Gilbert, Arizona. They have adopted out over 500 cats this year, which is really great. I used to foster for them pretty regularly until I foster failed and kept one. And now
Foster failed.
4 cats is too many for my apartment. So I haven't done it in a really long time.
Do you live with roommates?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
live
have to
by-
complain.
I live by myself. I used to do it while I lived with roommates, though, but my roommate was very complacent. So I was just like, can I bring in like 6 cats? And he was like, whatever. And then he spent all of quarantine at his boyfriend's house. So I just had a million cats
Just
in my
living
apartment.
lavish, Yeah.
Yeah.
You
it
were
was-
never alone then.
I was never alone.
Exactly.
That's very true.
I think it's also worth mentioning that school teachers across America need support keeping their
Absolutely.
classrooms together. There's a lot of places online. We'll post some links in the description where you can directly support a teacher. I feel like an adult because earlier this week a coworker approached me and was like, hey, can you buy some cookie dough for my kid? They're raising money for the school.
Aw.
And guys, that's just a giant pyramid scheme. The school gets a fraction of that money. It's not directly helping teachers. Teachers know what they need. They know exactly what will help their kids. Just donate to them directly. Take out the middleman. Don't get some crappy cookie dough that'll sit in your freezer for 3 years.
Those chocolate bars that they give out, so good though.
Naomi, you're undercutting my message.
Sorry.
Lauren, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Been a
of
hoot.
course. Anytime.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe on our MySpace page.
I have to reassure the audience that Joel did not just hire a random actress and she's sitting at the same table as us. This is actually his girlfriend.
No, I'm real. Somehow.
A real actress.
A real actress.
Yes, you
Yes.
were great in Our Town last year. I think
Thanks.
that's it. Enjoy your week all. Stay safe. Stay sexy. We have many thanks for the use of our theme music, which is the song Drop by Ketsa. You can find more of their music online at ketsa.uk. You can also find Date These Guys online on Twitter and Instagram at Date These Guys, or visit our website at datetheseguys.org. If you have questions you'd like us to discuss on the podcast or marriage proposals for either of us, shoot us an email at datetheseguys@gmail.com. If you're looking to make an impact, this show recommends giving either time or money to Planned Parenthood, a nonprofit organization that provides reproductive health care in the United States and globally. Planned Parenthood clinics and affiliates provide birth control and long-acting reversible contraception, clinical breast examinations, cervical cancer screenings, pregnancy testing, prenatal care, testing and treatment for sexually transmitted infections, and abortions. Planned Parenthood also does great work for those who can't afford traditional medical services. Approximately 4 out of 5 of their clients have incomes at or below 150% of the federal poverty level. Both Joel and Naomi are monthly donors to Planned Parenthood. You could be too.
The intro and outro music of Why Will No One Date These Guys is from the song Drop by the artist Ketsa. It is licensed through Creative Commons, and we are deeply appreciative that they've allowed us to use it.